Good afternoon. I'm John Wee from Kabari magazine. Today we have the pleasure to have Julia Gouw, who is the president of East West Bank. Good afternoon, Julia.
Good afternoon, John.
Can you take a moment to give your background?
I was born in Indonesia, in Surabaya, and then I came to the United States after I graduated from high school to come here to go to college. I went to University of Illinois di Urbana-Champaign, and when I arrived in Urbana-Champaign, it was in January. And it was really cold, so I immediately decided that I don't want to live in the Midwest. As soon as I graduated, I come and moved to Los Angeles and have been living here ever since.
And now you are the president of East West Bank and also the chief operating officer. Can you tell me more about your journey to become the president of East West Bank?
Yeah, I graduated, I majored in accounting, so after I graduated from University of Illinois, my first job is to be an accountant with Texaco, the oil company. And while I was there, I met a mentor, my manager, who told me that if you're in accounting, one of the fastest way to advance your career is to work for an accounting firm. So he helped me actually to help to get a job at KPMG, the accounting firm. So I joined KPMG, and East West Bank was my client. So when East West Bank, was looking for a controller in 1989, I decided to join East West Bank. And in 1994, I was promoted to become the chief financial officer, and I was a long-time chief financial officer. So when there was an opportunity for me to move up to become president and chief operating officer, I took the opportunity, and here I am as a president and chief operating officer.
It must not be easy because you are a woman and also Asian. How did you get this far?
Yeah, well, I feel very fortunate because I used to think that I'm probably a triple minority. I'm an immigrant, I'm Asian, I'm woman, plus I'm short. I wish I was taller, but maybe there's a fourth minority. But I do believe that California is a land of opportunity, and during my career, my journey, I was fortunate that I found mentors that helped me, with my career. So my first mentor that I mentioned, at Texaco, he was very kind, to me, always trying to encourage me, to have an ambition, to try to advance my career. But it was very interesting because that was in early 80s that he, told me at the time that, Julia, had you been a Caucasian male, you would go very far in corporate America. And he meant that, in a nice way because that was the reality back then. But because of his help, I was able, to get into KPMG, where it is a really great training ground, for people to learn about businesses, to audit different companies, so you know how businesses work, not just understanding the accounting rules, but how to make the business more profitable and or improve the efficiency, increase the revenue. So I think that with the training and the opportunity that I got, then when I joined East West Bank, we were actually very small. When I joined, we were $400 million in assets. Today, 26 years later, we are $30 billion in assets. And also, what is really impressive is the earnings. When I joined in 1989, we used to make over $1 million of net earnings in a year. But last year we had record earnings of $245 million. So East West Bank, right now, we are $30 billion in assets. We will be the largest bank headquartered in Southern California because another, larger bank right now, City National Bank, will be acquired by Royal Bank of Canada, later this year. In addition, in the country, East West Bank is in the top 30 largest publicly traded banks in the country. So we were very fortunate, that when I joined the bank, the bank had this mission vision to be the financial bridge between East and West, between US and China. And the last, 15, 20 years, there have been tremendous, opportunity of businesses, coming from China to invest in US, as well as many US companies that go to China to do business. And East West Bank, being the financial bridge between US and China, between East and West, participated in that growth of trade and investments between US and China. East West Bank is one of only 3 US banks that have banking license in China. So that helped us tremendously in providing banking services and, also help American businesses that do business in China, because we have banking license and presence and people. So if they need to be connected, to find business partners or customers, and we can help them to move the money for their business between US and China, as well as we help a lot of the Chinese companies, Chinese individuals that come from China to invest in the United States. Again, we know the rules here, we can help them also connecting to the community here. So I think that timing and opportunity and the bank, continue to grow and prosper, leads us to where we are here.
I see. I see East West Bank has been very successful, but you are the president. What makes you different than others? There are a lot of other career women or career men that most probably want your job, but couldn't get it. But you have some unique, and you know how to lead the bank to make it successful. So what is your secret?
Well, I guess that, all throughout my career, what I like to do is to always create value. Value to the companies, value to the shareholders, as well as to our associates, because we are all one big team. It takes many, many people to continue to sustain, the business and to be, very profitable. So I think that the key is that understand the business, understand your value proposition, advantages, of what we provide to our customers. And as a bank, we have to be very diligent in terms of managing the risk, because we are in the risk business. And also, we need to make sure that we always analyze, what could go wrong. But in the meantime, we have to take risks. That's how we make money. And if we do it, diligently and wisely, we should be able, to sustain and maintain our superior financial performance compared to our peer.
All right. So, licensing in China, that's interesting. When did East West Bank start having a license in China?
We have had, a rough office in China for, for a while, but it was the acquisition, of United Commercial Bank, which is, one of the transformative event for East West Bank. During the financial crisis, East West Bank and United Commercial Bank, we are about the same size. East West Bank was headquartered here in Southern California. United Commercial Bank was headquartered in San Francisco. And they have the banking license in China. But unfortunately for United Commercial Bank, they did not survive during the crisis. They had financial difficulty. So the FDIC, is looking, to us, to be the bidder. And we finally won the bid to acquire United Commercial Bank. And that's how we entered and have the banking license in China in 2009.
Anywhere else outside the U.S. besides China?
Now, we have a branch in Hong Kong, but we, consider that as Greater China, and a rep office in Taiwan. At this time, we focus, solely between U.S. and China. The reason being is that China now becomes the second largest economy in the world, and we feel that, there's so much opportunity, and we should, concentrate our effort, to try to, make it better and better, and to grow within this U.S.-China trade and investments and clientele, and be, the financial bridge. Obviously, you always look at, different opportunities, but, sometimes it's better to be very good at, certain things than try to be, a bank that go to all the different countries where we don't have, really the value proposition nor the advantage, compared to other banks.
So how do you differentiate yourself between Hong Kong Shanghai Bank, which is all over the world, and East West Bank?
Yeah, we cater to different market segments. HSBC is an international bank, it's a global bank, but sometimes being so big and being so global, they don't focus solely on US and China. But for us, we penetrate middle market businesses. We don't cater to Fortune 500 or Fortune 100 companies, global companies. Most of the companies that we cater to, they tend to focus middle market businesses that focus between US and China.
I see. And since you come from Indonesia, what is is there any vision to go into Indonesia?
Well, from time to time we look at different opportunities, but I think that, unless there's a, huge opportunity where we can see that, we provide the same level of expertise and value proposition. However, for Indonesian, companies or individuals that come to US that, invest in the United States, many of them become our customers only because we are very, very familiar, whether you are in the, real estate business as well as, technology or import-export. We can provide the banking services and facilities, and actually many of them are our clients. We just, at this point of time, we feel that opening a branch in another country where you need to learn about the local regulations and, to make it, profitable sometimes is more difficult, than,
So let's say for Indonesians who live in the US, what would be your niche as far as banking? I understand you have also import-export, but what else do you have? Also home bank?
Mortgage. Yeah, we have mortgage. If somebody, invests in commercial real estate, and, obviously anybody needs, like a bank to put their deposits, their savings, their investments. We provide all that vehicle. And if you are in the import-export, no matter where you, whether you import-export between US, Indonesia, and China, and more, what I see is more a triangle. Many of the Indonesian businesses, because of the, opportunity, and, they also have, sometimes they have factories in China,
yes,
and then they sell in US. So I looked at it as more a triangle. Even though we don't have banking license in Indonesia, many of the Indonesian, if they do business between Indonesia, China, and United States, we would be the perfect bank, that understand and can help them. They need, us to issue LC, letters of credit on their behalf. We can do that. So that would be, the value proposition that we provide for the Indonesians that are here in the United States.
Okay. So as the president of East West Bank and also the COO, can you define what that position means on everyday's tasks?
Well, we try to make everything works, so, it's also managing, the different divisions, the operations, the treasury, the finance, and, some of the, out of region, so I think that, it's just a matter of collaborating, and providing leadership and to make sure that everybody is performing and towards the same goal and the same corporate philosophy.
Okay, and also you care a lot about education and also conservers, nature conservation, right, sorry. Can you tell me more about that affection?
Yeah. In terms of the conservation, I do believe that as much as I'm very pro-business, I like to see growth, but I do think that there should be a balance, continue to be pro-business, pro-growth, but managing it in such a way so that it is sustainable, that we can live in a better quality environment. So, and a few years ago, I was invited to the event, by the Nature Conservancy, TNC, and actually, at the time, they featured Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, because of his, mission, to contribute, to the environmental sustainability, in China, and at the same time, I learned that TNC, even though it's a U.S. nonprofit organization, they also have Indonesia program. So as I got to know them, since I would like, to contribute, rather than in other places, I dedicated, my contributions to the TNC Indonesia program. And what I really like about TNC is that they also believe in, science. So they have a lot of scientists that work within the organization, but they are also, working with businesses and government to come up with a program that is more sustainable. One of the programs that, I think would be very, very exciting too is that they are trying to help the small, fishermen, by, helping them to create a co-op and to teach them how to fish appropriately, instead of using, toxic bombs or, methods that may destroy the environment. And I think that would be very good because you can provide education, to the fishermen, and you can help them by having the co-op. Maybe it makes it, more sustainable from the financial perspective, as well as bringing the technology, whether it's cold storage or some other technology, so that it can be, a sustainable and profitable for everybody involved, but then doing it in such a way that reduce the damage to the environment.
Just curious, East West Bank, how many branches?
We have 130 branches in the United States, and we have about 100 branches in California, Southern California, Northern California. In addition, we have branches in New York, Boston, Seattle, Houston, Dallas, Atlanta, and Las Vegas.
Is your target market Asian American?
Well, we do both. While many of our individual customers are Asian, however, when it comes to businesses, what we try to do is that we are the connector, we are the bridge. So as a result, and also we have the industry expertise in certain industries, and because of that, our target commercial customers, I would say there are more non-Asian commercial customers than Asians. Also, in the last few years, we developed industry expertise. And many of these industries, they do have, potential of the cross-border between US and China, but our industry expertise in, entertainment, technology, life science, aviation, agriculture, private equity, all these industries, many of the customers are not Chinese, they are not Asians. However, they come to us because we have the industry expertise, and also they come to us because if they need a connection, if they want to tap into China market, we can also help them with their, we call it the cross-border business strategy.
And you have seminars on that, or do you have experts?
We do,
Qualified.
we have, we have industry expertise teams, of people that specialize in those industries.
So how many employees total, East West Bank?
2,700.
2,700.
Yeah.
Now, as the president, what is your challenge?
Well, interestingly, when I joined the bank, we had fewer than 200 employees. So right now we have 2,700 employees, and it's great because we can give opportunity for a lot of people, for people to continue to advance and grow with the company. But as any business, there are always challenges in terms of dealing with.
Do you work 8 hours a day, or you work overtime, or 7 days a week?
Well, you're always working, right? You're always doing something. But in general, it's really difficult, to do everything, in 8 hours. In addition, I do, I have to, go out, for events or dinners, and so we usually don't count it by 8 to 5, so.
For those who want to look at you as a role model, what would be your message? How would you guide them?
Well, I always tell people is that one, find out your strengths and weaknesses and what you are passionate about. And then in terms of career, the most important is that you need to stay motivated and need to have I always encourage people to have a very high goal. Some people, they are afraid to fail, and that's why they don't want to have a high goal. However, if you have a high goal and you're not afraid to fail, because sometimes you have to try, and that way, at least you have given it your best shot. And sometimes, even if you don't achieve what you want, most likely you will achieve more than if you set your goal very low. And and I think that most importantly, people should appreciate what they have, because a lot of time all of us get caught up always not be happy with what we have. However, I do think that from time to time people really need to put things in perspective and be appreciative of the good fortune.
And
all of
you
us
mentioned that to keep yourself motivated. How do you keep yourself motivated?
Well, you have to have passion and interest, and I feel very, very fortunate because I think that I have a passion in finance, accounting, in
And
banking.
you are also a CPA.
Yes, and investments. So all that, being a banker is kind of a blend of all my interests. So I think that everybody should find, what they are passionate about, and after that, then you try to figure out, what are your strengths. And how to capitalize on the strengths, and everybody have weaknesses. Then what you should try to do is to minimize your weaknesses, but to stay focused, to have a goal, and to try to do your best, and don't take it too hard if you don't achieve what you want, because I think that sometimes people they spend too much time, worrying, or feel really bad if they don't, if they think that they fail. But I really think that part of being successful is that certain things don't always go your way, and you just have to continue to stay focused. I think back to being focused to where you want to go, so that you can continue to find ways, how to achieve to your goal. And I also say that, be flexible, because, sometimes what you think is the way to do it it may not turn out to be that way. So it is important that along the way you assess, your strategy. Maybe that is not the best strategy, and be willing to change, because part of the problem with some people that just want to prove that whatever they thought is the best way, they continue to try to prove that it's the best way without really looking at other different ways, better ways to improvise. So I do believe that along the way you need to be flexible and you need to improvise and to see, because most of the time when you have a goal, you don't know for sure how to get there.
And what is your short and long-term goal in your career?
Well, I'm hoping that someday I will retire from East West Bank. This is my third job, as I mentioned, and I will retire from East West Bank. I've been here for 26 years, and after that, I will continue to do things, and I do believe, in philanthropy, contributing and see what I can do, to give back. I think that philanthropy is one of the virtues of the American culture. It's something that I learned after being here, that once you achieve success, it is important to give back, to the community, so that other people can, also prosper and do better. Because when everybody is doing better, we will live in a better society.
Okay, can you share your life motto and also your hobbies?
My life motto, I would say, be positive, and also be kind to people, and and lead a happy, healthy life. That would be my motto. And then in terms of the hobby, well, in the summer, what I like most is Hollywood Bowl. I like to sit, outdoor, listening to performances, and lately, I like the Korean dramas. I'm one of those people too that I've been watching Korean dramas. Yeah.
Okay, with that, thank you for having us, and my name is John Louis, and I'm with Kabari magazine, and we'll see you again until the next episode. Goodbye.